Good morning, everyone. We are in Franklin, Tennessee, and we are here with Dr. Carol Swain. This is an exciting day. We've been talking with Dr. Swain for quite some time now, and excited to interview her for Schoolhouse Rocked. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about who she is and just the career path that God has had her on. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell our Schoolhouse Rocked audience. By the way, I always forget to do this when we do live videos. I always assume that everybody knows who I am and what I'm doing. So first, I am Yvette Hampton. I'm the producer and host of Schoolhouse Rocked. It is a feature-length documentary that we are filming on homeschooling. And the purpose is to encourage and equip the homeschool community to start strong, stay strong, and finish well. And so Dr. Swain has some really great insight as to homeschooling and just some different things that the Lord has brought her through. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Carol Swain. I've been a university professor for the last 28 years. I taught at Princeton University, and for the past 18 years, I was at Vanderbilt. I am a Christian conservative, and I have become increasingly disillusioned with the educational system, not just what's happening at colleges and universities, but also what's happening for the K through 12. And I've reached the conclusion that as many people as possible who are Christian should homeschool, or they should send their children to classical Christian academies.
Why have you made that determination? What has it been through your journey of being a college professor and dealing with the youth of today that has brought you to the conclusion that homeschooling is a good thing?
Well, first of all, I think the quality of education has steadily deteriorated in America. And I see, and I have to also say that I have not been a Christian conservative all of my career, but the last 18 years I have. And so with that being said, I have seen that there is an agenda to steal our children. And it was one of the reasons that I wrote this book, Abduction, How Liberalism Steals Our Children's Hearts and Minds, because it seems that there are people that are in the educational system whose goal seems to be to destroy the traditional values that many children receive at home, they get from their churches, and to make them adherents to this cultural relativism, to situational ethics. They're being taught that there are no absolute truths. And I've seen so many young people who were raised in Christian homes fall away from that faith. And I believe that the homeschooling environment is better because we can teach our children about the Constitution. We can teach them about the Bible, history, all of those things, so that if they go to college, and many of them will, and I hope they do, they will be prepared for the onslaught that will come to their faith and to their values. I think they are better prepared in many cases than the young children that go to public schools or private schools.
I agree completely. I mean, there's such a difference in being able to teach our children our own values and to teach them everything. We talk about it all the time, being able to teach every subject through the lens of Scripture and through truth. And instead of entrusting them to, teachers there are many excellent teachers and administrators in the public school system. We have many friends who are strong Christian believers, but their hands are tied. And then there are many who are not. And like you said, they have a different agenda. And so when we send our kids to public school and say, we trust these teachers to teach our kids truth, and they're teaching our kids everything opposite of God's word.
They're not even teaching knowledge, because we see this new math, and it's a new math that most parents that I know are not able to help their children with their homework.
Right.
And I think that the math is a subject, that is, math is math.
Right.
And it's something that the changes that have taken place, in the world with the teaching of math has not made our children better equipped to be able to compete with children around the world. And so I think that some of the traditional methods of teaching math and science will produce a better educated child. And in the educational systems I have studied and I have observed, children are not being taught how to think. They're being indoctrinated with ideas. They're not told, they're not being shown how to engage different ideas. And hopefully in the homeschooling environment, if it's done right, our children are better equipped.
Yeah. I love that you talk specifically about math, because math is one of those subjects that people will say, well, how can you teach math from a biblical perspective? Well, God is a God of order, not chaos, right? And math is a subject of order. And so teaching our kids math, logically, the way it's meant to be taught and the way that God designed it, makes sense. But when you teach it, through new math and Common Core, all of a sudden this math doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
So at that point, then it's chaos, right? It's math being taught in a chaotic way, and it takes God out of that equation as well.
And it's not just about them taking God out of the equation. I have been in situations where parents are trying to help third graders with their homework, and they can't do it because it doesn't make sense, and the answers. And when the parent tries to help by teaching, math or science the old-fashioned way, and mostly I'm talking about math, we find that the student will say, well, if I don't do it, the way my teacher said, then it doesn't matter if I had the right answer.
Right.
It's wrong.
Right. It's absurd. It's what it is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think that it's another way to separate the child from the parent. And I think that with homeschooling resources, not everyone may be equipped to homeschool, but those who are educated and those who pool resources with other parents, because some parents may be gifted in math and science. And so when parents trade off with others, then you're more likely to get the kind of education your child needs to compete. And they are doing very well. The homeschoolers who reach college are doing very well. They can think, they can perform, and we're very proud of them.
And you can say that firsthand, because
I've seen many of them. I've seen many of them, and they are really different, and they're different in a good way, because they are just more creative, and in many cases they're just more flexible. And I think that this is good for our society. And when we look at the direction that America is taking, I believe that it will be many of the children who were homeschooled or taught in the classical Christian academies who will be able to stand up and defend our Judeo-Christian way of life.
Yeah, I love hearing that from you, because one of the concerns that we get oftentimes from people, with homeschooling is, well, my child's not going to get into college, or if they get into college, they're not going to do well, because society has told them. Sam Sorbo and I had this conversation, and we've just been taught as a society to think, well, I'm just a mom. If I don't have a teaching degree, I'm not well enough equipped to teach my children at home. Who better to teach our children than the mom or the dad who knows them better than anyone? And so they are. I just love that encouragement that they are well enough equipped to make it into college and make it through.
Well, there are excellent homeschooling curriculums that will expose the children, that will help the parent give them the knowledge that they need. And in some cases, there are homeschoolers that are taking a few classes, in public schools or private schools, but the parent is very much involved with the education. And so again, I don't think every parent is equipped to homeschool. I don't think I could have done it. I would not have had the patience to do it. But there are alternatives to public school, and some of it is the classical Christian academies that are popping up across America as well.
Yeah, I agree. They're excellent. We have two nieces who go to a classical Christian academy, and they're thriving there. They're excelling, and they're growing in their knowledge, but they're learning truth, and in their relationship with the Lord, they're learning apologetics.
Worldviews, because our children do have to know the other worldviews.
Sure.
They don't need to encounter them for the first time when they go to college or when they step outside the home. And so there are a lot of things that we can do to equip our children, and I applaud the parents who are doing it. And the number of homeschooling children, as you know, that it's growing astronomically.
Yes.
But we also know that in many states there's an effort, to push back and also to curtail in some cases, the growth of homeschoolers, because that's a child that they're not going to be able to indoctrinate with the cultural relativism and the cultural Marxism.
Yes, no, that's right. So tell us really quickly, you mentioned Abduction.
Well, this book looks at a variety of things, and it's something that I think every parent should read, because you may not be aware of all the ways that the society affects your child, but it also deals with information that kids in high school should be able to read as well, and they should be equipped for that. Mm-hmm. But it talks about, public schools and just how that's ground zero, how the society tries to sexualize our children, the 5-year-olds. Go into a department store and look at the clothes they're selling 5-year-olds. We talk about music and TV and how that affects even the violence that we see taking place. Mm-hmm. We talk about higher education, what's happening on the college campuses, and also the courts, how the courts in America have not worked to the best benefit of the parents and also to our society. And then the book concludes with ways to fight back. We strongly endorse in this book Trail Life USA as an alternative to Boy Scouts, and American Heritage Girls as an alternative to Girl Scouts. This book, Be the People, A Call to Reclaim America's Faith and Promise, was published in 2011, but it looks at public policy issues as well as America's history, how we were founded. And we were clearly founded by people who were deeply religious. They were Christians, and they were guided by that when they set up our Constitution. And so the book really advocates people going back, to those basic documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the 10 Commandments, and just those things that are part of the core of what makes Americans Americans. And I think that those of us who profess to be Christians, if we go back to the core documents, if we go back to our values, if we learn our history, we will be better equipped to push back the darkness that's engulfing our nation.
Yep, I agree completely. Thank you for these. I have autographed copies of these. I'm very excited about that. And also really quickly, you had mentioned before when we were talking about this book that this Be the People is an excellent book for high school students
I think
as well.
So. Yes.
So maybe a really good resource. We'll put links to these books in the comments below, but check these out. Excellent book. So thank you for your time. We are actually going to wrap up our live interview and get going with our actual interview for Schoolhouse Rocked. But thank you for your time today. We had a great time with you last Saturday and got to tote around Nashville. She kind of gave us the grand tour of the Nashville area, and it's just been so much fun to get to know you.
It's my pleasure, and I'm so excited about your project and being a part of it.
Thank you. All right. Bye.